Hello everybody, and in today's video we're going to talk about personal and guild tributes, which ones I use, which ones I would suggest, and the logic behind it. But before we get into that, we do need to talk about um, heroics and such, because just in my travels and talking to people, a lot of people may not be aware of this, so I'm just going to go over some basics and things like this. When you go to your inventory stat page, if you look at the stats, there are three different sets of numbers. So the green font is going to be your modified base. The white font is your base. And then the yellow or orange or whatever color that you see here is your heroic. So whenever I talk about heroic stats, it's always going to be these numbers plus something, something, something. In today's game, live servers, your base stats really don't have much. They really don't do much at all. So I'm not really going to talk about it, but just understand that in life, at this point, they don't do much. Everything revolves around the heroic stats. So which is the best heroics for you? Why and whatnot. So let's explain and talk about this a little bit. Uh, Obviously, strength, every 10 heroics is going to give you one more base damage. Stamina is going to give you more hit points. Intelligence, if you're an int user, gives you a little bit more mana. Every 25 intelligence, heroic intelligence, gives you one more mana regen. Wisdom is the same as intelligence. Every point will give you maybe 20, 25 mana, and then every 25 will give you one more regen if you're a wisdom user. Agility is going to give you your avoidance, your dodging. Dexterity is going to give you a little bit more combat ability. It also helps with riposte and parries. Charisma does nothing. Absolutely nothing. Nothing, 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 nothing. Please, please, for the love of God. I hear talk so many people. Oh, I use charisma to help me mez, or I use it for my soothing. No, no, please, please don't even think. This charisma stat should be deleted. It does nothing in the game right now, so ignore that. Like, it really doesn't. So here's one thing that a lot of people didn't know. Heroic mods. These heroic mods increase as your heroic stats go up, depending on your class. So if you actually mouse hover over the green font, you'll see, for example, accuracy. This will increase with heroic dexterity at the point of 1898. Right now I am 1895, so three more points and it will go up a tick. So let's see. And then I just went into my shield and board and it went up a tick. So anyway, that's how it works. So you have to look at your class. What is important to you, right? So if you're a tank, for example, avoidance is important. That's a good one. Melee shielding is a good one. Combat effects is good for aggro purposes, things like that. So you decide, right? What kind of character or what class you play, what things are going to be important to you. And you'll see damage shielding, dot shielding. These go up for wisdom for warriors. Stun resistance is stamina, etc. So this is the biggest thing here. Knowing uh, what heroic is going to go up at what point. So if you're like a big person that likes to min max your character, so you'll say like, oh, my melee shielding 3600. All right, so I'm not going to get that anytime soon, so I'm not going to devote any more stamina. I'm going to add a little bit more agility to get my next point, which is at 1902. And so I would just need a little bit more. So you'd play the numbers, try to increase your heroic mods, because this is really what is going to define your character as far as survivability and if you're a melee class, how much damage you do. If you're a caster and healer, it doesn't really matter as much. Maybe you want avoidances or things like that, but or the shieldings to not die from area effects. So dot shielding, spell shielding are pretty good for casters and healers as well. So that's the basic lowdown. I'm not going to get into, oh, this class as a tank, you should go dex or you should go stamina or things like that. That's a time and place for a different video. Just know that I go stamina as my warrior just because I'm flat out, I'll just say the reasons is I'm lazy. I like having a lot of hit points and melee shielding. But that's my opinion. Each person will play a class differently. Whatever works you pick really boils down to the person's ability and skill, knowledge. If you have those, really, whatever heroic you pick, you'll be fine. All right, so let's get on to tributes and such. So with all that said about the stats and everything, the ones that I use here, and this is pretty generic for most melee, right? Pure melee, that is. Second chance, this one could be a curse sometimes. If it triggers and while you're tanking, then you have to click DA off. Uh, Deafness is heroic dex. So when you're picking your heroics, make sure it's zero, +0 in the white font, and then plus in the yellow font, because again, we're talking about always heroics. There's some that you could pick that are raises the base stats. You don't want to do that. You always want to raise the heroic ones, the yellow font. Then I raise agility. Then I use the AC one, and then I use the stamina one. Pretty standard. Um, doesn't vary too much for pure melee. For guild tribute is basically stats. We go with AC one and then heroics across the board because this basically will help everybody. I do have Friggin here as well, my shaman. So I'll show you what I use here for him. Very similar, but for two different things. Visions of suffering and twinge of pain, basically to increase the dot damage and such. So the vision one recruits mana on the dots, and this one here is the cast time, and then basically second chance, and then the hit point stuff. And that's what I use for the shaman. So that's pretty much it. I just wanted to go over when you pick your heroics. I mean, your personal tributes, always focus on heroics, and then figure out which ones you want to min max. So another option here would be, as silly as it sounds, if I notice, hey, look, I'm going to be close to a dot shielding, right? Which is 2000, which I'm not. But let's say if I was close, I may want to replace one of these. Maybe get rid of second chance and add the wisdom one. If that will give me 1% more resistance towards spell or dot AEs, that's survival. So it would sound stupid. Oh, I'm getting wisdom from my warrior, but if it's going to bump you up to that next 1% shielding, it's worth it. So you have to play with your characters and look at your augs and min max the way you want with your tributes. Your tributes are basically your buffer. It's going to help you push you or bring you down to whatever levels you need to be. All right, so hopefully this is helpful. And thanks again, everybody. Talk to you later.